All right. So I want to welcome you all, and like I said in my presentation, I'm very excited to share with you the knowledge that I gained through 8 years in the haunted house industry. A lot of fun, a lot of things that really, it's hard to give like 8 years worth of knowledge in an hour or so, but I'm going to do my best to try to convey to you the things that I learned. Halloween is one of the biggest holidays if you take into consideration all the candy and the costumes and the beer party, the bar parties that people have, as well as the haunted house, and then you have the horror movies that come out. It is one of the biggest industries that are out there. Halloween season is very, very profitable. It is actually just below Christmas as far as being the biggest holiday for people to spend money on. It's very, very close. It kind of goes back and forth, but right now Christmas is still up there. Many people see the potential from tapping into the season as a way to make money. Some haunted houses, believe it or not, have up to 40,000 visitors that go through their place during a season. A lot of those people pay $20 to $30 to attend a haunted house. Typical haunted house experience when people go, generally from when the second that they enter into the haunted house until they leave, generally about 15 minutes or so. So they're paying $20 to $40 or $20 to $30 to attend. However, producing a haunted house is something that can be very scary because there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration, some things that you might be aware of on the outset, some things that you might have no concept about. So again, I want to explain some of the things that I learned from 9 years in the haunted industry. A little bit about my background. Ever since I was a little kid, I always loved spooky things. If there was a spooky movie on TV, I'd be watching it. Halloween time, always very, very fun. I have had an interest in magic since the 1970s, and I go around all over the place, and I perform at fairs, festivals, campgrounds. I perform at campgrounds throughout the year. Come in, they have me do a magic show or hypnosis show. 1995, kind of as a branch off of that, I decided to open a magic shop. I would have people calling me and they'd say, hey, I want to buy a magic trick. I want to buy this trick. Do you have it? I wouldn't have it. I would go online. I would buy it for retail price and charge them like an extra 10 bucks. At that same time, my kid was born, and so all of a sudden it was like, well, I can either, and my wife wanted to stay working, and so I thought to myself, well, I could send the kid off to daycare, but I wasn't very fond of that. So I thought, well, this would be a good way. I can take my kid to the shop with me and have some fun and sell things. And so in 1995, I opened up a magic shop. And then in about 2000, I expanded and I added costumes into that. In 2002-ish, I attended Transworld. It's a Halloween trade show that used to be held in Chicago. This is your trade show here that you see on steroids. It's the largest convention that I've ever been to in my life. The building fills up an entire, it's the Donald E. Steffens Center in Rosemont, huge convention center. You go there and you buy costumes, buy makeup, and then they even had like the paper industry and balloon industry. So anything party related or Halloween related, it was all in this convention center. Well, then they had a smaller area that was dedicated to the haunted house industry. And I walked into this place and I was just blown away because going to this convention, you see anything that you could ever possibly see in a haunted house and some things that you would never want to see. Scary monsters, animatronics that you go up, spend $3,000, $4,000 for, buy the monster, people walk by a trigger, a motion sensor, and the monster fires up and scares people like that. So I kind of fell in love with the haunt industry. So in 2003, I was asked to do a haunt-themed show in association with the local haunted house. It's Burial Chamber in Neenah. They said to me, would you come in and would you do a magic show with us? I kind of went in and kind of tweaked it a little bit. Instead of doing that, I did theatrical seances because I didn't feel like at that point in my life that a magic show would play. Now I could do a Halloween-themed show, and I've done that up at Sturgeon Bay for the last couple of years. In 2004 and 2005, I decided to rent the Grand Opera House. The Grand Opera House is a beautiful theater that opened in 1874, has a big history, very, very spooky. You walk into the place and you swear to God it's haunted. So it's kind of natural theme. So the thing that I found though with the Grand Opera House in Oshkosh is that it was too small and they really didn't give me enough time to do everything that I really wanted to do. But here's a little sample of what we did that first year so you guys can kind of get an idea.
Who's we?
Me and my minions. What's that?
That's what I thought.
Right.
I'm from Ashland.
You're from Oshkosh? I guess that's maxed out, but you guys can kind of hear it. This only plays for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So yeah, we had less than 365 days to prepare. Had a lot of fun doing it, learned a lot of things. The screams that you hear is what haunters, the people that do haunted houses really love. That's kind of our adrenaline, our fun that we have. By the way, while I'm doing my little presentation, if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer. So then after I did the haunted house at the Grand Opera House, like I said, they didn't give me very much time, and so then I decided to, then after I did the haunted house in Oshkosh, really didn't have enough time to set up and really was limited with what I could do. So then at that point, I approached the Winnebago Fairgrounds and I rented the entire fairgrounds for the month of October. I had unlimited space, really anything that I could want. I had 2 to 3 metal buildings plus room for a hayride that we did in 2009. Brought people out into the, it really wasn't a wooded area. It was kind of lame, to be really honest, but it was fun. People liked it. We had lots of parking. I had about 5,000 customers that paid me $20 to $25 a person to go through the haunted house. But the problem with the Winnebago Fairgrounds is, again, it was too short of an amount of time to really set everything up. They would really only give me from a couple of days after Labor Day, and then your first weekend of October is when you want it to open up. Really not enough time, especially when I'd go and visit haunted houses around the country, and I'd go to some conventions. that I'll be talking about. And I visited haunted houses in Florida, in Dallas, in Louisiana. Some of these haunted houses, unbelievable, the set and the detail. You swear to God that you're walking into high-quality Disney sets. And so I started kind of get frustrated. Plus, the problem is that the buildings were very, very cold. Beginning of October, it wasn't too bad. End of October, I'd have actors, they'd be talking to me and I could see breath coming out of the air. Some of the girls wanted to dress sexy and no problem with that, right? But then it got to be the month of October and these girls would be sitting there shivering and almost turning blue. Then I'd come in the next day after a night and my blood that we had for the haunted house would be frozen. That's how cold the building was. So then I wanted to find a year-round place that I could really expand and kind of go crazy with my creativity. So then in 2010 and 2011, I rented a 50,000 square foot building in Manitowoc. It was one of the old Miro buildings in Manitowoc. It's still there, but since then they've changed it into apartments. But the rent was really, really high. I was paying like $27,000 to rent that building for the year. I had basically access to the entire building. The first section right here, that was like the building owner's office. I had the second and third floor, that's where the haunt was. The fourth floor, the owner lived up there on the fourth floor. But the rent was really too high. In Manitowoc, it was really kind of isolated for being able to get a full population to come. And I only had enough customers. I only had about 4,000 customers or so. So after doing the math, after everything, I was only clearing $10,000, $15,000 or so. And then plus on top of that, in 2011, the landlord decided he wanted to convert the building into an art gallery, which really didn't make a lot of sense because he was charging like people to come to this art gallery, and he had pieces of art in Manitowoc that were like $15,000 pieces of art. And I mean, God bless them, but Manitowoc, you're not going to get very many people that are going to spend $15,000 or so. So then I thought my haunt was done, but then after that in 2012, I moved over to Berlin and found this very, very cool, old, nasty-looking building, something that you swore monsters actually lived in. And the place is really haunted. We had ghost hunters come in. They would do like nightly tours of the place. And after we got done doing our haunt, you know, we get done generally at midnight, they'd come in and they'd bring people through and do all their stuff. It was a cool, spooky old building, but really not enough population in Berlin. I don't know, maybe a population of 5,000 people or so. It's kind of isolated. So after all of my work, and basically when you do a haunted house, a lot of people think that doing a haunted house is something that you only do, you start to think about and start to set up in the month of September. Truth be told, producing a haunted house is something that's like a 366-day job. You're thinking about the next year as you're setting up for that year. I lived, breathed, and loved the haunted industry. But after only clearing $3,000 profit, I was going through a divorce at the time, so then finally I decided I'm out, and so I sold everything to some guy that decided to open up a haunt in Iowa. It's kind of cool because I still go online from time to time and I go to his page or his Facebook page or go to his site and I see some of my props still used. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to decide what kind of haunt you want to do or that you can have. Now I'm going to stop right there because I say indoor or outdoor, but there's a couple of other considerations that you can think about. First of all, some people just want to have something that they're going to bring their campers through, you know, and maybe just do for fun. Some of you guys have like themed weekends, right? And so maybe you want to have a Halloween weekend. So you can set up something very, very basic for free for the campers to go through. Or if you want, you can start looking at about it for a profit if you want to do a haunt for profit. And there is money to be made in the haunt industry, but you have to be very, very, very careful. So the first thing that you want to think about is if you're going to do an indoor haunt or if you're going to do an outdoor haunt. Okay, an indoor haunt, well, I think I talk about outdoor first. Indoor haunt. An indoor haunt, basically you have a building and it's kind of nice because you have a controlled environment. You can set up fog machines in there, you can set up all the lighting, etc. You don't have to worry about weather. Props and set and actors are protected from the elements. You don't have to worry about leaving your stuff out in the woods and having people come in and vandalize it or things like that. However, you are limited on the size of the building. Some of you might have an old metal shed building that you would do a haunted house in. The other thing that you also have to be aware of when you have a haunted house is that fire codes and building inspectors can shut down a haunted house like that, and it's happened. A couple of haunts that I know about set up everything, didn't check with the building inspector, didn't check with the fire marshal, didn't check with the building inspector. A couple nights before they're going to open, after putting all that time and money into it, fire marshal, building inspector comes through, you're not opening, shut you down, just like that. So it can happen. Yes?
Well, so if I have like a pavilion or something that we use for activities throughout the camping season, do I have to do something extra when I do it up for a haunt, as far as inspect? Do they have to come in at that point?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different trains of thought when you do anything. Do it and pray that the building inspector or fire marshal doesn't care, and some of them don't, you know. Some fire marshals, some building inspectors, they want to make sure that everything is perfectly fine. When I used to have my retail shop in Appleton, guy next to me, he decided to open up a bakery. Was all set, ready to open up his bakery. Week before he was going to open up, building inspector came through, or fire marshal came through. Everything is good, but you don't have sprinklers in the freezer. What do you mean I don't have sprinklers in the freezer? You don't have sprinklers in the freezer. You have to have sprinklers in the freezer. They went round and round, and he ended up having to shut down. So you have that, and then sometimes in a smaller area, you might have Charlie, that's your buddy, that's a fire inspector. You can also get by with fire inspectors by saying, okay, well, you know, I don't have sprinklers in here, but maybe if you guys park the fire trucks or if you come out and help out, they'll let you get by with that. Basically, you can try to sneak by and hope nothing happens, but after having done this and having been in the industry as long as I have and heard horror stories, my philosophy is get the fire inspector and get the building inspectors on track as soon as possible.
So we took a class at Transworld, and after that, since we knew we were going to be doing the haunt, we contacted our local fire marshal, and he kind of laughed and chuckled and said, it's a short-term thing, and don't worry about it. Well, we did, and we put in 3 more exits in the event that they did come, and so we kind of prepared, for that scenario in the event that they did show up and say, on second thought.
Right.
But they never did. They never came to inspect, but we did put that call in, and
it's always very, very, very scary. If you talk to anybody that produces a haunted house or that's done one, it can be one of the most scary times when you have that building inspector or fire marshal coming through for the final inspection. In between when I had the haunt at the Grand Opera House and when I moved to the Winnebago Fairgrounds, I had found a building in Appleton where I live. Building looked great, went through, thought it was going to fit exactly what I needed, called the building inspector, called the fire marshal. Hey guys, come through, this is what I'm going to do. Brought them right through the building with me. I'm going to have 4-foot wide aisles. Oh, you don't need to have 4-foot wide aisles, so you can do like 40 inches or so. Okay, that's great, so I did 40 inches. I'm going to do this, that, described everything to a T. A couple of days after Labor Day weekend, as I'm setting everything up in this building, looking good, we're going to do our painting that day. All of a sudden I get a phone call from one of the people that work for me. Hey Ron, you better come down here. The building inspector and fire marshal wants to talk to you. It's not a good call. Show up, walking through the building. These pathways are only 40 inches wide. They need to be 48. You told me I only needed 40. Nope, need to be 48. Okay. You have styrofoam on the wall here. Yeah, but the styrofoam is coated with fireproofing material. Nope, not good enough. You have to plaster that whole thing. Okay. The parking lot that you have there, it's just gravel. It needs to be blacktopped. Okay, is it possible to get a variance, you know? Can I go before the board and say, hey, can I have this thing up for 1 year, see if I make money, and then if I make money, I'll do all these improvements, and then, yeah, you can do that. Oh, good, when is the next meeting? November 8th? So basically what you're saying is you don't want to have me open up a haunted house. We're not going to say that. We're not going to say that. Found out a little bit later on what had happened is I was in kind of a residential neighborhood in Appleton. It was like there were residences across the street. One of the things when you produce a haunted house is that you're not going to be attracting the creme de la creme of society that are going to be working for you. You have goth kids. You have people that wear black. You have people with long hair. You have some weird-looking people. Gladys Kravitz across the street, opening up her windows. Charlie, we got weird people in the neighborhood. Call the alderman. Got shut down like that. So that's why I ended up moving to the fairgrounds. It can happen, you know. Another haunt that I heard about, their fire marshal, they had set everything up, talked to the fire marshal, and the fire marshal came through and told them that all their walls in their haunted house had to be made out of steel or aluminum. You know, it's just one of those things. So like I said, the best thing is contact your fire marshal and keep that buddy in your pocket. Oh, Charlie, I'm going to be opening up that haunt. You know, you want a couple tickets so you can bring your grandkids through, you know. You got to play those games sometime. When you do an outdoor haunt, a lot more freedom from fire marshals and building inspectors to a certain extent. Normally it's a trailer path that you bring people through. Weather is a major concern. Some kids, they love going out in that rain, but still it can affect you if it's monsoon season like we're having outside. You do have the natural spookiness of the woods that you can kind of work off of. It can be hard to set up scares because if it's a wide open area, it can be a little bit harder to set up scares. And of course, if you want to have lighting and sound effects, those have to have electricity, generators, or extension cords run to those. So after you decide if you're going to have an indoor or outdoor haunt, the next thing that you want to consider is the dates and times and how many nights you're going to be open. Do you want to be open from 7 to 10? Do you want to be open from 7 to midnight? Do you want to be open later? In the haunt industry, you have R-rated shows with nudity. You're not going to be worrying about that, but some people do take it to that extreme. 7 to 10, you don't have to worry about the freaky deakies coming out. You know, the drunks and things like that normally. 7 to midnight, you're going to get a lot more people in. When we ran our haunt, we did 7 to midnight, but I was also very cognizant on looking at the number of people in line and all of a sudden saying, okay, so we have 45 minutes before the haunt, we have 300 people waiting in line, we can do this, or we're going to have to shut down the ticket booth even though it's only 10:30 at night and we're already sold out because we have that big of a line. So then you can decide on your ticket price. Ticket price, really whatever you want to charge. Most haunted houses go $10, $15, $20 just because it's easier to make change that way. You can also upgrade on selling a VIP package to people because that works good because it's extra money for you. Really, you're not doing anything better except you're getting the people that are in the way in the back of the line that come right up to the front of the line and they get in almost instantly. It kind of does annoy the people that are waiting in line, that have been waiting in line for an hour and they see these people walk up, but they do it at Disney World. If you do have a VIP package, you can entice people to buy the VIP package by having a little goodie bag that you give them, t-shirts, a special waiting area, things like that. Generally $10 to $20, but again, it plays on the big shot or rushed people. So you have some guy show up with his date. Oh, honey, we're not going to wait in line. Here, I'll buy this VIP pack, you know. Sometimes people would do that even if we didn't have a wait. It amazed me. People would pay me, normally tickets would be $20. We charge $40 for our VIP package. People would show up. Oh, I'm going to take care of you, honey. You know. And so that worked out really good. Next thing that you want to do is you want to create a website. Now, if you have a webmaster that's really good at creating a website, you can do it by yourself. or my buddy, he's in Chicago. He, phenomenal artist. I mean, really, really good. And he does website building for you. Make sure you include your location, of course, where you're located, some kind of a backstory. With haunted houses and with social media and YouTube, you can do so much stuff with building a backstory to get people excited. Why is Carl's campground haunted? Well, Carl had an employee that knew somebody that had a Ouija board, and they opened up the Ouija board, or this place is built on ancient burial grounds for the Indians, and so it's haunted that way, or there was a massacre here, or it just is bad mojo or whatever. Have your dates and times, obviously, your price. Please, please, please make sure you have pictures. Again, people love going to it, seeing, oh my gosh, look at how creepy that guy is. And a call to action. A call to action is have a place that people can buy their tickets now. Because once they buy that ticket, you don't really care if they show up or not because you have the money, all right? So you want to make sure that you have an online ticket source that people can go to and buy tickets. If somebody's sitting at home, 2 o'clock in the morning, where am I going to go this weekend? I got to find a haunted house. Oh, there's Carl's Campground. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to go check out that place. Oh, I can buy tickets right there. Boom, sold. All right, so the next thing that you want to think about after you decide all that is you want to start to get your minions. Really, you start to get your minions the second that you start to do a haunted house. Minions are people that are going to work for you. I call them my minions. So you can put up a sign at your location. Carl's Campground, haunted house coming this weekend. It's good advertising for the haunted attraction because people that come to your campground see the sign, oh yeah, we're going to come back here in October. So you put up a location. I would just put up things like Monsters Wanted, like a great big sign that would say Monsters Wanted, my website. You have the website before so the kids or the people that are going to work at the haunted house can look back at the pictures. Oh wow, that looks pretty cool. I want to work there. And then you want to have posters around town that you're looking for monsters, looking for minions that are going to be working at the haunted house. Contact high schools, colleges, community theaters, places like that. Great resources. The cool thing about doing a haunted house is that once you start to get a handful of people that are interested in working for you at the haunted house or doing the haunted house, they have friends that also are interested, or they start talking about this cool thing. Once you get into set building, they go and they go, oh my gosh, you should check out this awesome set. We got this crazy psych ward. We're going to have strobe lights going off. So it's a lot of fun. And they really get into bringing in their buddies into working with it. And the next thing that you want to do after you have the posters up and you're going to start to set audition dates. I have a background in community theater. I did 40 or 50 different community theater shows, both as a paid actor and as a volunteer. So I kind of knew how the audition process would work. But you want to set up auditions to find out if people are really going to want to do this. Find out how good they are at improvisation. So you might want to talk to your local community theater group, or think to yourself, or talk to me, hire me to come in as a director or whatever. But you want to find out how good people are at improvisation, because at haunted houses, 95% of what the people are going to be doing in a haunted house are improvisation. Because you have some people that go through a haunted house, big guy like you, not scared of nothing. Then you have people like you, literally, I've seen guys like your size hiding their head in the back of their buddy like this as they're going through a haunted house. So I walk up to you, and if I walk up to you, you're a lot bigger than me. And some of my actors were like, little teenage girls like this big, and they'd scare the hell out of people like you because they could learn how to read body language. Walk up to somebody like you, well, that person is probably not going to react to this, but I bet you if I react this way, they're going to be able to react a little bit better. And sometimes when people are working at a haunted house, You have to be really quick on your feet. You have to be able to come with the comebacks. Had an actress, I remember one of the girls in the haunted house, they were walking through and some guy, he goes, "Show me your boobs." She goes, "My boobs are so good, they'd make you pee in your pants." You know, it just came off the top of her head. So you have to be quick on your feet. Find out how dependable they're going to actually be. That's really, really important. When I did my haunted house, I would have a big check-in sign where people would come in, and then we get all the minions, you know, about 45 minutes. I'd say everybody has to be here 45 minutes before because I'm going to assign parts. So I'd have the room written out one by one so I could remember, okay, first set is the psych ward, second set is the vampire lair, then we have the evil clown area, and I have all the parts listed. And then I'd sit there at the beginning and I'd look at my crew and I'd say, okay, so we got the psych ward. Charlie, you're back, that's good, you're back in the psych ward. Brenda, you're here, that's good, you're going to be in the vampire area. Mike and Charlie, where's Charlie? We need 2 clowns in order to do the clown room. Okay, so you're now the clown, and so it helps do that. But you have to have people that are reliable. When you do a haunted house, now this is another really, really, really gray area that some haunted houses are getting in trouble with. You might be able to have volunteers if you're a true charity. If your organization or whatever is a charity, you can have just volunteers. If you're in it to make money, like I was, you have to pay your actors. I was just talking to a guy that was at the another convention that I was at, and he had done 3-4 years with just volunteers, and all of a sudden the government came in and said, you got to pay these people. You got to pay your actors from now on, and you're going to have to go back and track down all these people and try to pay them. So he was out a lot of money. Volunteers can be your best actors at a haunted house. Why do you think that is?
Because they're doing it because they want to.
They're in it, right? Because they love it. There is nothing quite like the feeling of being able to scare the hell out of somebody and not get punched, hopefully, for doing it. When we did our haunted house, we had a tally board up by the box office, and we were all wired up. We all had walkie-talkies. And we took great pride in the number of people that we had quit before they got all the way through the haunted house. We had a tally board at the thing that we would actually mark down the number of people that peed in their pants, the number of people that pooped in their pants. We would actually have a gong at one of the haunted houses. Every time, Ron, we had another peer, bong! I mean, scared the hell out of the people that were waiting in line. I also thought it'd be great to have like a live video feed to one of the scenes that you knew was going to be a definite scare, and have that feed out to the waiting area so people can see, oh my God, those people are, look at them screaming. I still talk to a lot of my minions on a regular basis, and they're like, oh, I miss the haunted house so much. You know, it's such a good time. And some have gone on to work at other places. With your volunteers, and even with the paid actors, I would always try to give something to reward them. Movie tickets, swag clothing, you know, with your logo of your haunt on it, little trinkets. I'd go to the dollar store in the off season and I'd buy like these little crap, you know, that you buy for $1 and you get like 5 of them. And you hold up that little trinket and they thought that that was the greatest thing in the world that they won that. Sometimes CDs, cash. If I couldn't pay the actors, or if the actors were on a volunteer basis, I would have an envelope with a $100 bill in it. End of the weekend, okay, I got an envelope here, it has a $100 bill, we're going to reach in the box and pull out who the winner is, and the winner is Brenda, yay! Okay, they love doing that. We would also have for our crew a award. And again, I went to the dollar store, one of those places, and they had like cheap little awards, and actually it was made out of plastic, but it had like a skeleton holding a severed head, and then I would actually write on it, VIG, very important ghoul, MIG, most improved ghoul. Just little things like that really do mean a lot to the people that are working for your haunt. And because of the people, again, the vast majority of people that are going to be working at a haunted house aren't going to be rolling in the dough. I pay my crew $400 or $500 for working the season. Give them that check October 31st at midnight, and I could see that within a couple of minutes that check would be cashed. Some of them, that is their big income for the month, okay? You have to do background checks because if you're going to have teenagers working at a haunted house, you don't want to have some creeper working there. So you take down all the information, pay the little bit of money, and do a background check. Find out what this person is like. I had one person that worked for me at the haunted house and ended up not being a very good person, ended up ripping me off. But still, background checks can help cover your butt. Okay, so now after you've done all of that, you want to decide on the theme of your haunt and various things. You can have a vampire theme. You can have like a house with like a crazy dolly girl. You can have an evil clown. This is an autopsy set, a voodoo scene. That was one of my best actresses and one of our best sets that we did. Also, once you get your minions, your crew that are working with you, that's good team building. All of a sudden somebody comes up, I got this great idea. I got this great idea, Ron. And they'd be messaging me. Luckily, I didn't have a lot of text messaging back then, but I'd still get messages from these guys, emails or whatever. I got this full script, you know, I want to do this. Is this cool? Yeah, okay, well, we got the wood, we got the room, go ahead and build it, you know. They really get into that. And it all builds into that whole team building thing. The more that you can get your minions involved, the more that they'll feel that the haunt is something that they like to do. So then after you do all that, you want to draw up your blueprints. I wasn't here going to actually show you blueprints, but basically I'd take out a grid paper and draw out the hallways so you know what your haunt is going to look like. Again, depending on the haunt and depending on the place that you're going to do this, you might have to have 48 inches walls. Those walls all might have to be covered with a fireproof material. Other places that you do your haunted house at, the fire marshals say, I don't care, just make it safe. And a lot of times when you talk with the fire marshals too and building inspectors, you can say, look, it's not like I'm having a rave and there's going to be like 1,000 people in this building at any given time. At any given time, there's going to be my actors, and there might be 20 people or 30 people in this building at any given time. So then the fire marshal might let you get through that. It helps you also plan for how much wood and stuff you're going to need, which brings us to set building. Set building, again, it depends on what you want to have. If you're going to have an outdoor haunt, really, you still probably want to have some sets. These are, we use 2x3 wood that we would get from Home Depot, 2x3 wood with a frame going down the middle, and then slap a sheet of Luan on one or both sides and then paint them. This was our set building party. Another great way of having your minions feel part of the team and really, really get excited. I had there maybe 20 people. We set up stations. He's bringing the wood over, throwing it down, and then they throw the sheet of Luan on, and she's putting the nails in. We built, on a weekend like this, maybe 200 walls or so, and then we would be able to keep the walls. So again, you use 4x8 frames, use 1/4 1-inch Luan or OSB wood, that's stuff from Menards. Paint and fireproof if needed. There's a special chemical that you can mix in with your paint to make sure that it's fireproofed. And at one point I had about 600 wall panels. So I had like two big semi-trucks that I rented, I think, and then another semi-truck that was full of my props, all the stuff that I needed. So then you want to decide how you want to cover the roof, because in a haunted house you want to try to make it as immersive as possible. So you can have jute rope, that's this kind of stuff, it's landscape stuff, highly, highly flammable, highly flammable. Fire marshal goes through, if you got one of those people, he's going to tell you it has to be spray painted. Some of them might not care, but it is highly flammable. And so again, you want to get some special spray that's available through the links that I'm going to show you guys a little bit later on. Has to be sprayed because very flammable. Another thing that you can get is landscape material. It's like the black landscape stuff that you put down to weed barrier, and that kind of blocks off your top area. Makes it more immersive, more dark, more spooky. So here's some of the different sets that we had. We had like a jungle theme with zombies, actually, or werewolves. This was carved styrofoam. Some of my minions working on that. This is a Silent Hill nurse scene. Actually, it was one of the most scary scenes that we ever did. For all out terror, people would walk into this dark room. We'd have this old-time that air raid siren go off, and then all of a sudden strobe lights would go off. We had mannequins around, and then the Silent Hill, it's kind of a horror movie from a couple of years ago with like these evil nurses, and they twitch and walk up to them, just scary as heck because we'd have strobe lights going off. This is our Little Red Riding Hood scene, kind of hard to see. Little Dead Riding Hood, we called it. So then you want to do some actor training and team building. Get your actors together and teach them how to be scary monsters. Teach them how to walk up to people on their left side or on their right side, how to creep up behind people. This is all stuff that is a lot of fun. We set up a booth at the Winnebago Fairgrounds during fair season. Just hand out flyers, even though I'd be in the middle of July or August handing out flyers. People would be like, what are you doing handing me a flyer here in the middle of July? You know, October isn't until a couple months. Well, I just want to remind you. We'd also contact movie theaters and say, hey, you got that new scary movie coming out in January. Can we come dressed up? Get all the minions all dressed up, and we'd all go and hand out flyers or talk to people and get our pictures taken. So it was a lot of fun. So always be looking for ways to have cast members bond and think as a team. Again, do a movie night at the haunt. So you set up and you say, okay, well, here we are building. So it's September 25th. After we do our build, we're going to have a movie night. If it's all adults, you know, you can have adult beverages. If there's kids there, then probably shouldn't, you know, have any of them there. But you can still do like a movie night at the haunt. You can do a campfire, paintball, do that together, go to concerts together, set building or actor training, how to be big scary monsters. What we did with my crew every year is we would have a special cheer. And the name of our first haunt was A Theater of Lost Souls. Now, I'm a big fan of the military and I'm a big fan of football. And every time you see a football game, you see the guys getting their hands inside. Who are we, Packers? Who are we, Packers? You know. And so what we did every night at the end of our haunt, we would get together at the end of a build and we'd do, who are we? Atolls! Who are we? Atolls! And then a little shout out to the military. Give me a hooah! Hooah! And even to this day, I still get my minions that'll message me and they'll say, who are we? And I respond, Atolls. So it was a lot of fun. Again, please remember, many of your minions are the misfits of society. They're people that are not going to fit into the Barbie and Ken. And I had a lot of those Barbie and Ken types that worked at the haunted house. And to me, it was great when I'd have a very, very beautiful girl that would make herself extremely hideous because she's not relying on the beauty. And maybe that's her way of escaping her reality. I don't have to be a perfect Barbie girl anymore. I can be a scary monster, you know, and scare people. But a lot of them are misfits. A lot of them, I became their father figure. And a lot of them respected me for that and loved me for that, and I still love them. But they're just trying to find a place to fit in. And so it becomes an extended family. And even though my last haunt was back in 2012, I still get people that message me every day or every other day on Facebook, hey man, I still miss you, I still love you, little minion. So then you want to pick some of the music for your haunt, and that's some of the music that I had playing before as you're walking in. but music adds ambiance and helps set the tone. If you want to do like a zombie theme or Mad Max theme or post-apocalyptic area, you can have the heavy metal music playing for that. Clown music, of course, for the clown haunt. Banjo music would work great at a campground. Have people walking through and hear that ding 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 ding, or have Charlie up on the thing, playing. Midnight Syndicate, one of my favorite kind of weird music to listen to. It's midnightsyndicate.com. You can use their music for free. You don't have to pay them any royalties. You just email them and say, can I use your music? Yeah, go ahead and use it as much as you want. Just do a little, plug for us. That's great for gothic, vampire, foreboding feeling for zombies. And they have also different theme music as well. They do have like a separate CD for the clown haunt if you want to do that. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking. And does anybody have any questions? Again, if you have any, just feel free. So then advertising. There's a site, hauntedwisconsin.com. I don't think I put that on there, so I am apologetic for that. But hauntedwisconsin.com is a site that you can go and you can post Carl's creepy campground, and you can put pictures on there. You can put your dates and times. And this is like one of the places that a lot of people that are really, really into haunted houses in the state of Wisconsin will go to, because they can click in a city or they can just bring up a list of haunted houses. They do reviews on there, so people can put in their reviews of your haunted house, which can be good or bad. But then also you, of course, can do radio, you can do billboards, signage at the location, you can do posters and postcards for guerrilla marketing. And guerrilla marketing is any place where teens and young adults might be, community events, fairs, festivals, movie nights, bars. We'd get all dressed up in our weird makeup and go out in the middle of June. And people would want to get pictures taken with the scary monster or the sexy vampire or the evil clown. People love that stuff. Again, they might look at you like, what the hell, it's, June. Why are you dressed up? But then it's always Halloween for us. Hand out your promotional material, do photo ops, and that's a great team building exercise. So then if you do all of this, the next thing that you want to think about is where you're going to get your stuff from. And there's haunted house conventions. There's 3 or 4 major haunted house conventions that you can visit. This is just a little shot. Anything and everything from your worst nightmares will be at this haunted house convention. You can go, if you have a big enough paycheck or checkbook, you can spend $40,000 for an animatronic that is like 20 feet tall, and you walk by a motion sensor and the monster just goes like that and roars. You can buy like a full-size dragon, so really it all depends on what your budget is. But then they also have like vampire fangs, if you want to buy those, makeup, props, severed hands. It's really weird going to this convention because there's some of the weirdest people that you've ever met in the world. And some of the stuff you really do think some of these people have serious issues, because they'll have murdered people with knives in their back. There's CSI quality props, things that you look at and you go, oh my God, that looks so real. And then they have a girl with her throat slashed or knives in her back, and you're like, dude, you got some really serious mental issues. But it's a lot of fun and just an eye-opener. So there's some conventions that you should keep in mind. The HAA show, that takes place in St. Louis. It's March 21st through the 24th, so you guys could still go to that.
Next weekend.
That's what?
Next weekend.
Next weekend? So that's like the big one that you go to. And they have the most number of exhibitors. That's the one that used to be in Chicago, but then for some reason they moved it to St. Louis. It's very, very frustrating because they went from this huge convention that was unbelievably big that would literally take you 2 days to walk through the entire convention and see everything, down to a convention that you can see in like an afternoon or so. But still, it's a good convention to go to because they have anything that you want. And then part of the nice thing about going to these conventions is that you can go and visit haunted houses in that city. And that's where you get ideas from. And it's always kind of funny because you're going through this haunted house and you're a seasoned haunt owner or actor, and they have these, God bless them, actors that are doing their best to scare the heck out of you. And they'll come up to you and they'll be looking right at you really intently, and you're like, damn, that's some good makeup. Oh, that's some good blood, you know. Oh, that's a cool costume. And you'll be walking through and you're kind of like looking at the sets and monsters are jumping on you. Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay. You know. So they have a couple of really good haunted houses in St. Louis that you can go to when you go there. So it's HAA show in March. Then you have the Midwest Haunters Convention. That one used to be in Columbus, Ohio, but they've just moved it this year to Chicago. That's June 7th to 9th. It's a good convention, a lot smaller, probably half the size. I just kind of stuck my head in your trade show area, but maybe about half the size of yours. But again, they have a lot of the builders of the props and makeup that you can actually buy right on site. Some of these things you go to and you have to place an order. So really, if you go to this convention and you're thinking about buying a prop, talk to the other people at the convention and make sure that it's a reputable company. Because there's a couple of companies that are out there that you go through and you go, oh my God, $40,000. Yeah, I'm buying that baby. And then you hand them the check and you get the prop. And the prop breaks after you fire it up right away. So make sure if you're thinking about buying something, you talk to me or you talk to somebody and say, hey, what do you think of this company? A couple companies, unfortunately, take your money and you don't ever get your prop. But those places generally don't stay in business long. And if you talk to other people at the convention, they'll be able to tell you, yeah, you can feel free to buy stuff from Poison Props or whatever. So then January through 17th through 19th down in New Orleans, they have HauntCon. Nice convention. I've been to that a couple of times. That's kind of a touring convention. Every year they have it at a different place. One year I was in Milwaukee. One year I went to New Orleans for that convention. That was a lot of fun. And a lot of these, like I said, you visit like HauntCon, and they have the dates of the convention, January 17th to the 19th. But then a couple of days before the convention, they load up charter buses if you want to pay like a couple of extra $100 or whatever, and they take you to like 7 or 8 different haunted houses in neighboring states. So you really get a feeling for what other people are doing out there. So if you have any questions or if you'd like to hire me as a consultant, I have my contact information there. Do you guys have any questions? Yes?
Who do you use for your online ticket sales?
Ticket sales, TicketLeap. TicketLeap.com, that was one. That's the one that I was using last, and they seem to do a nice job. Online ticket sales are nice because, like I said, 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody feels like they want to go visit a haunted house that season. They click it, and then they take a small percentage, $1 or whatever, of every ticket, and they deposit the money now right into your account. Yes, ma'am. Oh, and could you guys do me a favor? My girlfriend was yelling at me, my beautiful sweetie, because I forgot my hearing aids, so speak up nice and loud.
Do you have a disclaimer as far as, using strobe lights, if somebody has epilepsy? Have you come across issues with that, like where you have to say, we have fog machines, strobe lights?
Yeah, you put all those disclaimers. I should have had that up there, but you do want to have disclaimers at the beginning. Have it at your website. What I did during my pre-show, when people were waiting in line, I would have spooky music playing, and then just like Disney World, every couple of minutes or so, warning, this attraction features simulated violence, blood, strobe lights, and then sometimes people would start to cheer with each one of those things. Yes?
This isn't much of a question, it's kind of more of experience. Before I got in the campground industry, I worked for about 3 or 4 years for a haunted house down in Kenosha. And what I've found is that most haunted house operators are very approachable and friendly once they realize that you're also doing the same thing. And that's where we actually used to get a lot of our new stuff coming in, because it wasn't very big, but we would contact other people and stuff that they were getting rid of because they were putting something
Sure.
new in. You know, you just kind of work with each other and recycle the props.
Yeah, I had that when I had my haunted Manitowoc. Somebody contacted me and they said, "Hey Ron, do you need any extra props? I got some stuff just sitting around." Heck yeah, give me whatever you want. And then they waited for like 3 years to contact me after my last haunt. "Do you still have my prop?" "Yeah, I do. You know, it's in storage." So the haunt industry is a very, very giving industry. You can have that. And if you have that in your city, it's awesome. But you do also have, on the other extreme, very, very cutthroat, where other haunts are doing their best to make sure that their haunt is the best and your haunt is going to fail. So you'll have some people that might visit your haunted house and go online, "Oh, that haunted house sucked. They had this actor, he came up and he punched me," and it never happened, but they do that. You know, it's dirty politics. But yeah, you have a question?
Do you do any computerized programming with any of the mechanical things out in the field or anything like that?
I don't know. I had minions that did that. Most of the time, as far as like, you mean like programming the monsters?
Certain things, yeah. And things that will come out, something will move, yeah.
Yeah, no, well, normally if you buy a prop, you know, at like one of the trade shows, it comes plug and play. So you plug it in, aim the motion sensor, walk by and it'll fire it up. As far as building a prop and programming it to go like this, there's different, they're called boo boxes that you can get through like scarefactory.com, that they come ready to go and you're just a matter of pushing the buttons however you want to have it operate.
Do you have an actor in every room, or do you try to?
I
less
tried.
actors is better, more animatronics, or?
You try to have an,
Today.
yeah, I try to have an actor in every room or within eyesight of every room, just for security, for my props, to make sure people don't steal stuff, as well as to make sure that I try to actually have, in my wildest dream, I would have 2 actors in every room, just
How many
so.
actors would you plan on hiring?
What's that?
How many actors would you plan on hiring?
It depends on how big the haunt is. I had, I think at the most 60.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like family. And then some people, like I said, they would come in and they'd bring in their friend.
Oh, yeah, we
You
can
know.
attest to that, that it just creates an energy amongst them.
Yeah.
Did you have security cameras?
I'm sorry, what?
Security cameras?
I didn't. You know, I lied. I told him I did. A lot of times the motion sensors would have a little red LED anyway, so people would be convinced. But again, I would, if you can't afford it, I would definitely have security cameras. But then it gets to the point where, how many scenes do you have and how many security cameras, you know, do you have in the haunt? I mean, you might have a security camera in this room, but this room you don't, and stuff could go down in this room.
Well, the other thing about cameras is then you can capture
Yeah.
those scare moments and
Oh, yeah.
utilize those.
Yeah, and I did that. You know, I had some in the hot rooms, you know, rooms that I wanted to. And probably one of the reasons that I have bad hearing is that we had this really cool scene where people would go through a darkened room, and I had a couple of semi-horns and a light that would come on. And so they'd be walking through this dark room, light would come on, the horns would go off, and they'd be walking by, and I always got a good start. Well, I came up with the bright idea. What I'm going to stand right underneath these lights, and I'm going to film people as they're coming through. And so I had an infrared camera. Brrr! Oh, my ears are bleeding, but that was great footage, you know. So yeah, you do want to capture that, because I mean that's great advertising for your haunt. One year, I was doing the haunted house at the Grand Opera House, and I had box office call me, "Ron, you better get up here right away. This dad is really mad." So I go up. "Can I help you, sir?" "Yeah, this haunted house is too scary. You scared the hell out of my kids. No place like this should be open." I'm like, "Damn it, where's my video camera?" So, Other questions? Yes.
Did you work with like the local businesses and maybe buying like a sponsorship type thing?
Mhm.
And then, because I know like at Christmas time when you drive around, there's, you know, it's got like a Christmas light display and it says sponsored by this business.
Yep.
I thought maybe to help with the props, you know, the expenses and everything that goes into it.
Oh yeah, you want to definitely network with local businesses. Give me $500, and you can have your poster up. If you really get like a really good haunt, give me $100 or whatever, and you can have your poster up. Our official sponsors, radio stations. We had a radio station, WIXX. They're one of our official sponsors for our haunt. So you want to work on that. But I did want to mention one other thought that I had that I didn't have on this. This is really something, you guys all have a big advantage over somebody like me. Okay, when I did my haunted house, I had to go out and I had to rent a facility. You guys all have your own place, right? It's campgrounds, right?
Yeah, they are.
So you have your haunted, and this is something that I wanted to get to when I moved out of the Winnebago Fairgrounds and I found a permanent location when I was in Manitowoc, when I was in Berlin. So you have your haunted house up in October. People are walking through and, oh my gosh, there's scary grandma, she's in the crazy kitchen. Oh my gosh, look at that crazy room, that guy, he's packing all those suitcases and it's really scary. October 31st comes, done, right? Why? November, switch around everything. Come, open up, all of a sudden, Carl's Happy Christmas Village. So you've taken your attraction, left it up in November if you can, and all of a sudden, people walking through, oh, there's scary grandma making, oh, she's making cookies, that's Mrs. Claus. Oh, so you take all of your sets and you change all of your sets from a Halloween theme to a Christmas theme. Instead of walking through a dark, dark tunnel where it's evil, you put up some Christmas lights and put up some Christmas decorations in there and invite people to come through. So really doing that, then you totally change the demographics of the people that come to a haunted attraction or that come to your attraction. In October, people that come to your haunted or that come to your place for Halloween time are basically going to be 10 to 19, 20 years old. That's basically going to be your demographics. Is grandma necessarily going to want to come out to a haunted house with her little 5-year-old? And I've had little 5-year-olds go through the haunted house. They love it. They're sitting there laughing and mom is terrified and, little kids are laughing at Freddy Krueger, But now all of a sudden you change it and grandma can bring her grandkids through because of Christmas Time Village. You could do so much with that, So please, please, please take advantage of that. Yes?
We've always done a Halloween weekend, and we used to have a haunted trail, and it was difficult with the weather and people messing with it. We literally had to try to set it up that day because people would go up and move stuff around on us. But now we take our pavilion and we divide it up and kind of make it into like our haunted house, make a maze out of it type thing. But the thing that I struggle with is we want to try to target people of all ages, and sometimes, well, most times, the younger ones don't want to be scared. And so we do a kid-friendly lights on version, and then we do the scary version right after that. But I found that the people that want to go through the scary version go through with all the lights on, and then they know where everything is.
Right.
So I don't know what the best way
Yeah.
to go about.
Well, we did that same thing at ours. We called it Mini Monster Day, and we did it as a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. So what we did is we would pick a day and have it be a matinee. And so it'd be like a Saturday afternoon and get all the monsters. They don't have their makeup on. Maybe you have the makeup room so people can see the monsters being made up. But then you bring the people through, and I had all my actors at the different stations, and then the actors would be there at the different stations, and they'd be talking to the kids, hey, welcome to the haunted house, and we even did it. Oh, that's very cool. Somebody doing that? So it was very, very cute for the kids because they'd be going through, and one year it was funny because we had a couple of my actors decided they wanted to dress up, so we had Our lady that was normally our crazy kitchen lady, a psycho Christmas lady, and she was dressed up like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, and she was giving out candy to the kids, and any of the money, and we lowered the price way down on that. I think it was like $3 for people to go through. And basically it was lights on so you can see what the haunted house looks like. And sometimes it was bad because we'd have like little kids that would come through and they would still be too scared to go through even if the lights were on. I mean, you can only do so much to make a haunted house not look scary, especially if mom and dad are talking to the kids before. One time we had a dad going through the haunted house, and I was following them as he's walking out, and he has this little kid, and they get out through the haunted house in the end, and he goes, "Now remember, if you ever misbehave again at home, I'm bringing you back here." I'm like, really? So, pretty bad. Any other questions? Okay, if you guys do come up with any questions, feel free to email me, feel free to call me. If you come up with any questions, I have a booth located down by the lobby area, down the corridor that you use to get to the trade show. Feel free to stop up. I am doing a magic show tomorrow at 1 o'clock to 1:30, so you guys be able to see me not be so sinister and have some fun with Einstein, the world's cutest bunny. He's going to be at my booth today, so make sure you stop by and visit the cute little bunny rabbit. And again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. And other than that, you guys have yourself a spooky day. Thank you.